out before all of this happened. So it's really great to be back with you all. I'll just give a few updates. As you know, the Senator's CARES Act has had a big impact on the state of Kentucky, more than an $11 billion impact on Kentucky alone. Over $5 billion of that is through the Paycheck Protection Program, which I know a lot of your local small businesses have benefited from. Over 45,000 small businesses across the state of Kentucky have received more than $5 billion in PPP loans. I wanted to make sure you all saw that last week Congress passed and the president signed the Paycheck Protection Program Flexibility Act that a lot of businesses have been asking for more flexibility in regards to the conditions for forgiveness on the loan. There were 4 key points on that, and increased the loan forgiveness period from 8 to 24 weeks. It also reduced the amount that has to be spent on payroll from 75% to 60%. It increased the loan repayment period if you don't qualify for forgiveness from 2 to 5 years. And it also extended the June 30th deadline for rehiring those employees in order to qualify for maximum forgiveness. So I think that that'll be positive news for a lot of our small businesses who have those loans. And then a couple of other things I would mention. I know some of you still hear from your constituents about the economic impact relief checks. If any of your constituents have had any issues, they haven't received their check, the IRS is now taking case-specific inquiries. Our caseworkers out of our Louisville office will be happy to look into those cases for you. You can always reach our Louisville office caseworkers at 502-582-6304. And then the senator has a coronavirus response portal on his website at mcconnell.senate.gov, where you can find a lot of helpful links and information. And then the last thing I would note is just a reminder that we're always happy to write letters of support for competitive federal grants. I know that the build grant period passed last month, and we were happy to write letters of support for a couple of those in this area. But if there's any other competitive federal grants that you all are applying for, let me know, and we're happy to write letters of support. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Morgan. Is Jason Hassert with us, Jason?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, sorry, Jason.
Oh, thank you, Judge. It's a pleasure to be here. Senator Paul is certainly concerned with everything going on. It's been a stressful 3 months, and he was actually looking forward to visiting the PADD office the first week of April. So hopefully we can do that later this year with an in-person meeting. During this time, the senator has been having multiple statewide conference calls and regional conference calls, trying to stay in touch with our medical officials and leaders, as well as our ag leaders and farmers. Certainly our Senator Paul is very concerned that the price of beef is extremely high in the supermarket, but our cattle farmers are getting 80 cents per pound on the cattle they're selling. The same thing with grain prices, and agriculture is our #1 industry, and he wants to try to find ways to help in that area. Also, I know a lot of communities are, facing a lot of tough decisions later this year because tax revenues have been so depleted. So Senator Paul would definitely like to hear about any struggles that your communities are having, and look at ways that Congress can try to help and that he can help in those situations. So I guess that is the main message from the senator right now, and we look forward to hopefully the economy reopening and things improving in the region.
I'll say amen to that. Thank you, Jason, for that report. I'll call on Corey Elder now with Congressman Comer's office. Corey, I didn't see you there, so I apologize for kind of skipping over you.
Not a problem. And Amelia is on. She's on the phone, but I'll just give the quick update on Congressman Comer's behalf. Congressman Comer has remained active and accessible throughout the COVID-19 crisis. He's done several telephone town halls with constituents, and he's partnered with a few state reps and a state senator on that. We've done our best to stay in communication with our constituents, the industry groups, and local officials. And Congressman Comer has been on the phone many days doing that. And I know the last few months he wishes he could been out in all of your all's communities. I know I had a few coffee with the congressman's plans that I talked with a few of the judges and mayors about. And as soon as we can get those back on the calendar, we're certainly going to do so. And Congressman Comer has been active in speaking on numerous issues, including the need to reopen our economy. Not to discount the seriousness of the coronavirus, but Congressman Comer has repeatedly said that we cannot let the shutdown last too long, or the economy would hurt everyone worse than the coronavirus crisis. He's also said testing is the key to ensuring that we reopen safely. And he still wants to make a point that he thinks Kentucky should move quicker towards reopening the economy, especially since a lot of his counties border Tennessee, and it's just a big advantage for those businesses right on the other side of the aisle, on top of everything else they have tax-wise, being in Tennessee and not in Kentucky. And he's spoken on behalf of our cattle farmers, I think, as Jason had mentioned, who are losing money on their livestock sales, even though people are paying more at the grocery store. And he supported an investigation into the potential price fixing by the big meat packers, and knows that the farmers, like others, need the help. And I just want to let everyone know that Congressman Comer is staying very active, and we look forward to getting back out there as soon as we can. Thank you all.
All right, thank you, Corey, and thanks to all our federal legislative representatives. Please share with Senator McConnell, Senator Paul, and Congressman Comer that we greatly appreciate all the work they've been doing. I'm sure they've been overwhelmed just as we all have, and appreciate everything they've done to help us out. Jason, do we have any state legislators on with us for an update? Or
I didn't. Oh yes, Representative Prunty's on here.
okay, Representative Prunty, would you like to provide an update for us?
Sure. Appreciate the opportunity. Of course, we ended a crazy session, social distancing and voting from our offices, and a much pared back state budget than we originally passed, with the economy doing so well initially. But hopefully we pared it back enough that we're not going to have to make a lot of cuts in the future. Locally, I've been able to, fortunately, with some donations from a physician and some organizations in Louisville, I was able to kind of assess needs locally from nursing homes and the health departments and the EMS, masks, gowns, gloves, those kinds of things. And he sent those to us, and we were able to distribute those in their name. Corey came down one day, and we touched base with as many small businesses as we could about PPP, and he did a good job trying to let folks know what they needed, and we may do that again. And Morgan, if you want to come, whatever, we're willing to go around and just touch base with folks. I stay in pretty close touch with both of the health department directors, and we had a situation where one in Muhlenberg County, where we had a small business owner. He'd applied for unemployment insurance. He wasn't receiving it. He was willing to comply with all the rules, and this was prior to having any set dates for reopening. And he got told no, and he was very upset and was, willing to get a lawyer, willing to go to jail. Said, I'm getting discriminated against because I'm not a Walmart or a Rural King. And so I encouraged our local health department director to get this word up to the governor, because I felt like he needed to know that if there's unrest here, there may be unrest other places. And Curtis, our Judge McGee, got on, and Jan got on, and several representatives of other mayors, not all the mayors in Muhlenberg County, got on. And apparently that was the only spot that there was a problem at the time. But just wanted to communicate with the governor's folks that, if that would help inform his decisions moving forward, tried to do that. I appealed to the TVA board. They were supposed to have an in-person board meeting May 7th at Murray State, and they ended up having it virtually because of the virus. But I submitted some comments to them because we're hearing that Paradise may be in line for some CT units in the future. So I advocated for those. And while I had them on the line, I just said, don't forget coal. We have some rich assets here in Western Kentucky and Kentucky as a whole, and tried to advocate for that since many of the board members have been appointed by President Trump at this point in time. So I did try to do that while we were on the line. With the shutdown of Unit 3, my district is going to be hurt terribly, and I'm just trying to get out there and help recruit some jobs to the area. as always, but kind of a little more urgent now. We started interim joint committee meetings last week. So I was in Frankfurt last week for those. I just want to comment. The governor was having coffee with the legislators prior to the end of session, and I didn't have my turn before we left. And he started having some meetings, calls the week of May 18th. Mine was on Friday the 22nd. And the first group just got a COVID update, and they asked if they could ask questions. And so we were able to ask some questions. And I realized very quickly there wasn't going to be enough time to go into all the questions that I had. And the governor had kind of indicated he might do an evaluation once this all is over. And I just expressed to him that I would love to be at the table during that evaluation process and give input. And my one example was that I felt like local health department directors might need, it would have been good if they could have had a little more direct authority to vet businesses if they were going to follow the rules, maybe open up a little, slowly, but maybe give a pressure release valve to try to help things get going. So I don't know how that'll fit into the mix, but hopefully that'll happen. And then the final thing I'd just like to comment on, with all the civil unrest that's been out there, tried to reach out to our local law enforcement over the weekend and just let them know that I'm here. I'll do whatever I can. I'm willing to sit down and have conversations and try to be a part of that if needed. And both the local sheriffs and they felt like everything was under control, and they know of my support. So I just, if we can have conversations and help in that, I'm willing to do so. So thanks again. Good to see everybody.
Thank you, Representative Prunty. Appreciate everything you've been doing as well in Frankfurt. It's been a challenge to say the least. Jason, was there anybody else that was with us?
I don't see any others. If there are, if you don't mind to speak up now. I think that's it, Judge.
Okay, we'll move on then to our reports from our ad agency, and beginning with Miss Amy on our community and economic development report.
Okay, thank you, Judge. In your packet, starting on page 7, I believe it is, going through page 14, you'll see a list of projects that have been submitted the last couple of months through the e-clearinghouse system. Each of you all should have received an email from Melody Goodwin here in our office to review and comment on those projects in your respective counties. A total of 16 project applications have been submitted for review, and we have turned your all's comments back around and entered them into the clearinghouse system. So that list is just for your all's reference. The next thing that I wanted to talk about, next couple of things have to do with some CARES funding through the Economic Development Administration, or EDA. The first is a non-competitive opportunity that PADD was invited to participate in, along with the other area development districts across the state, as a supplement to our annual planning partnership grant with EDA. We were invited to apply for an additional $400,000 to supplement some of our activities and also add some activities to what we're doing to help respond to the coronavirus pandemic. These funds are going to be administered through the Department for Local Government. So that $400,000 will be reduced by a little bit of an admin fee that will go to DLG. So in total, we will be hopefully receiving, starting in July, an additional $392,000 over a 24-month period to carry out some activities that are outlined in the scope of work that's on pages 15 and 16 of the board packet. We did submit our application last week to DLG, and they are rolling all 15 area development district applications up into one application to EDA on our behalf. Just to cover at a broad level the activities, there were 4 activities that were allowable under these funds. And those, we chose to do at least a piece of all 4 of those activities. We will be creating or developing an economic recovery and resiliency plan that's going to be tied to our SEDS document, which is our regional planning document that we update annually, and also tie that to our regional hazard mitigation plan and how we address the economic impacts of this pandemic. And hopefully we don't have this again, but any future pandemics that might occur. We do plan to hire what we're going to call a disaster recovery or resiliency coordinator. This individual is going to serve as a centralized regional point of contact for all coronavirus related information, activities, funding sources, and things of that nature for you all. They will serve the same footprint as we serve. Some additional funds for technical assistance for our in-house staff to help you all develop proposals for the EDA CARES funding and any other technical assistance that you may require. And then also some technology and staff support to purchase some equipment for us to use, such as laptops with docking stations, so that we can continue work should something like this happen again in the future. And then also some additional GIS equipment that has been outdated that we were kind of in need of. This actually came at a good time for us. So again, that application has been submitted. Our target start date would be July 1 for these activities. So you all should hear more coming from us in the near future on that. Any questions on that portion? Okay. Similar to the partnership, the planning partnership grant, PADD was also invited to apply for some non-competitive funds to recapitalize our revolving loan fund. Now at our last, I guess it was executive committee meeting in May, we approved our RLF the plan update, which did include some of these provisions, giving us some flexibility to loan some funds out. But these funds will be specifically set aside for businesses that have been directly affected by this pandemic. We have been invited to apply for $690,000 to put back into that loan fund to loan out, along with an additional 10% in admin costs on top of that. Again, these funds will be utilized to provide business and industry loans over the course of the next 24 months. And we're going to do that with an expedited loan application and approval process so we can get those funds on the street a little bit quicker. I am in the process of developing some documents that you all can distribute to your local business and industries to help us get the word out about this. But these funds will be able to be used for working capital, fixed asset debt, rent, utilities, supplies, inventory management, or payments to suppliers, very similar to the SBA loans that came out back at the beginning of this pandemic. We have structured this program so that the loans should range between $5,000 and $25,000 for a period not to exceed 36 months. We are, because of the restrictions that have been relaxed with EDA under this program, we can offer even lower interest rates than what we traditionally do. We're looking at interest rates somewhere in the 0.5% to the 2.44% range with an option for 6-month deferral on payments. I've also included the scope of work in your board packet on pages 17 and 18 that outlines a little bit of this program. So with that, the next two documents that you'll see are a plan amendment and then a resolution. Because EDA is allowing some flexibilities in their statutes for this program, we do need to adopt those same flexibilities into our plan. So EDA is waiving their requirements regarding minimum interest rates, which allows us to go down to that 0.5%. They're waiving the minimum owner's equity cash investment, which is typically 10%. And then they're waiving the 2-to-1 leverage ratio for other investments in the program. So we can provide 100% loan to these individuals. And again, those flexibilities are outlined in that amendment on pages 19 through 22 of your board packet. Again, we are expediting the loan application process. We have included some provisions that will allow us to approve using a combination of between 2 and 4 staff members here in our office to approve those loans that are $25,000 or less. And those staff are limited to the executive director, myself, Alicia, the administrative officer, and then our newly hired economic resiliency coordinator. Do I have any questions on the loan program or the RLF amendment? All right, hearing none, Judge, we will need a motion and a second on that resolution to adopt these plan changes so we can get our application submitted to EDA for these funds.
Judge Newcomb, this is Todd Mansfield. I make the motion. I move that we approve.
Thank you, Judge. Do I have a second?
Jan Yance, second.
Thank you, Mayor. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
Thank you, Judge. And again, as well as the planning partnership, we do expect a July 1 start date on these funds. But as soon as I can get those application documents ready, we can start accepting applications and getting those in the review process even before that July 1 deadline.
Okay. Thank you, Amy. Does anybody have any questions for Amy regarding that process? All right, we'll move on then to our area aging and Agency on Aging and Independent Living report. And Ms. Jill.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you. We're going to start with pages 24 through 29 in your packets. And the first thing I'm going to review is our update that we sent to our advisory council. Normally, we would have met in May for our annual training and volunteer appreciation for our fourth quarter advisory council meeting, and that was canceled. And so we did provide program updates and sent those to all of our advisory council members. I'm not going to touch on all of them, but you can look at those yourself and you can see where we stand on all of our programs through the end of April. One thing I do want to bring your attention to is our home delivered meals that are related to our COVID funding, as well as the congregate meals that related to the COVID and the CARES funding. Those two categories combined, we've provided right at a little over 50,000 additional meals since the COVID-19 crisis has started. And we are continuing to add new meals on every day. I do feel that we have somewhat hit a plateau in adding additional meals. We do continue to add anyone 60 and over that calls wanting a meal, and we'll continue to do that as long as funding allows. As of May the 26th, we've also reopened our in-home services. We have sent our home health aides back into the client homes, and so we have resumed our personal care, homemaking, and respite services throughout the counties. So those are no longer on hold. The only clients that are on hold are those who wish to remain on hold just through their own choice. But overall, we have, I think, around 40 that remained on hold, and everyone else has resumed their services through the in-home services. Throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, we've continued to grow our programs. Obviously, we've continued to grow in our nutrition program. We've also been fortunate in that we've continued to grow our Medicaid waiver program. We've continued to process new referrals. We've been able to add new clients and get services started for those individuals. And our Veterans Directed Care program has also grown throughout the COVID crisis. And so we've not really missed anything on services for those individuals on our Medicaid waiver or our Veteran Directed Care programs. So we are pleased to report some growth there. You will also find in your packet the waiting list. We continue to keep track of the waiting list. And although everyone that is on the waiting list for a home delivered meal is receiving a meal if they wanted it, we went ahead and left them on the waiting list because at some point, these additional dollars that have come our way through the CARES and COVID funding will come to an end. And so we are in discussions now with the Department for Aging and Independent Living and internally to look at what that transition will look like for those individuals when the funding is gone, and how we may be able to continue to serve them, possibly through a congregate meal setting, or connect them with another program that may meet their need. On over in your packet, you'll just find some information on World Elder Abuse Awareness. The month of June generally is a very busy month for us, as we would have events and different media information released on our media platforms regarding world elder abuse. It's very important that we keep that in mind, as we serve the most vulnerable population, and so many of those individuals are isolated at this point. It's important that as an agency and as a community that we pay close attention to any signs that we may pick up on for our older adults, and make sure that we're doing everything we can to protect them and keep them safe. So that information is in there. If you have questions on elder abuse or how to report that, let me know. You will also find in your packet a press release that came out last week from Humana, that is on page 29. If you remember back a few months ago, we were the recipient of some Humana grant dollars, and part of those dollars were used to provide some shelf-stable meals. And so those meals were provided in our area at a good time. We did not expect the COVID crisis to hit when it did, but at the time that it hit was about the same time that these additional shelf-stable meals went out to clients. So they were on hand at a very critical time for those clients. And so this is just a press release regarding those Humana grant funds and what we used those dollars for at the local level. The last item that I wanted to bring to your attention, I don't have a handout, but if you remember back last year, we started talking to the board members about a partnership with PCHP and becoming a provider to provide care manager services to Anthem through Medicaid MCO services. That contract has actually come through, and we received our first 4 referrals last week through that program. So currently, between now and the end of the year, we are providing care manager services for Anthem consumers who are referred to us, and we contact those individuals to help fill the gap or find out if they have any unmet needs. And we have case management staff that are taking care of working with those clients. We don't expect the referrals to be a great number at this time, but we do expect that program to continue to grow at a steady pace throughout the rest of the year. And then the only other thing that I want to mention is the closures of our senior centers. We do not have a date right now that those are expected to reopen, but staff here at the Pennyroyal have been able to get a seat on the committee with the Department for Aging and Independent Living in Frankfurt to begin discussions and roll out plans for what that reopening may look like when that time is decided. I do think that the reopening of our senior centers will probably be one of the very last phases of the reopening throughout the state. Once again, as I stated, we serve the most vulnerable population through our programs. And so we need to make certain that we have the correct protocols and PPE in place when that time comes. So for now, we're continuing with our home delivered meals and our drive-through meals at the senior centers and in-home services to those individuals who want to receive those. So if anyone has any questions on any of these updates or services as they stand today, I would be happy to answer those. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jill. I appreciate the report and the work you've done. At this time, I'll ask Ms. Sheila to come on and give us our workforce activity reports.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to direct you to page 30 in your packet, and you will see the labor market information and some of those unemployment rates that you all have been hearing so much about. You'll see those for April on that page in that sheet. And if you don't have it out, let me just run through a few. Christian County is 17.6. Our highest is Hopkins County, I'm sorry, with 19.2. Trigg 17.0. Muhlenberg 16.2. In this period, of course, all of our manufacturing would still have been closed and quiet. In May, you'll see manufacturing coming back on. And so that will be one of the differences that you'll see when May comes through. Still nationally, they're talking about real numbers of unemployment being around 25%. And of course, we're seeing near 20 in some of our counties there. But just wanted to bring that to your attention. Those were dramatic shifts in unemployment rates. We have some information that I didn't have at the time of putting the packet together. We were notified last Thursday that the state of Kentucky had already received a dislocated worker national grant. It's referred to as a national dislocated worker grant. And we had information that the state would then ask us for a proposal, which we submitted. We requested $900,000. This would be for a 2-year grant period. And it would be to assist individuals in some type of work experience or training. And this would be individuals that would be on a temporary layoff, on a permanent layoff. They might be a spouse of an individual that was dislocated. All of those categories that you normally think of as a displaced worker, this would be eligibility that would be met by those individuals, but also something that might be a temporary layoff. They would also be afforded an opportunity for services. With this grant, we expect to get more than $550,000 in the second year, as it is a 2-year period. And if you remember back a few years ago when we had Project ICE and several of our cities and counties and nonprofits brought people in and we paid the wages and the city or county or agency provided direct supervision and were responsible for that person, then we're looking at something similar to that, but our goal of what we might be training them in or exposing them might be a little more related to some of the humanitarian efforts that we're looking at under COVID-19. For example, if you have a food bank and you don't have enough people, volunteers to help with that food bank, we could hire someone if you had someone to supervise them to help with the food bank or with elderly assistance or distribution of materials or supplies. We can work with cities and counties with some of their needs, perhaps to put individuals there. We would need a job description for the individual and it have meaningful work experience where they'd be gaining skills that they could later utilize in a job. And this could go on a resume or an application and talk about the fact that they had that work opportunity. The work opportunity can go up to a year in length, 2,080 hours or so in length. And as I said, it'd be a work experience. And we'll be getting contacts for the cities and for the counties and trying to see what your needs might be. We'll be talking to the nonprofits, anyone that might be providing assistance in your county, that judges and mayors, if you know they have a need as a nonprofit, if you can just shoot me an email or Cindy Massey an email, we'll try to look up that and see what their needs are. As we've just been notified of this, we will probably not start this activity till that first full week of July. I think that's about July 6th or something. But we will start putting our list together and our contacts and trying to get prepared for it. Of course, we'll be going into this activity with as little face-to-face contact as possible, as far as trying to make referrals and determine people eligible for the program. And we'll be talking about it in more detail at the next board meeting. But we wanted you to be aware of it and know that you're going to start receiving, as board members on the ad, as well as judges and mayors and nonprofit groups, you'll be receiving that information. And as I said, we want to make sure that we have that twist in there for humanitarian efforts whenever we can. We can provide direct training for in-demand occupations or occupations that might be related to healthcare or have some connection to those needs that we saw grow during the pandemic. And we'll be working with our community colleges and Murray State University to do that. Just wanted to say to our congressional contacts, thank you all very much for your support of this for Kentucky, and it'll be another opportunity to help people that are out there in need. Another item that I wanted to mention is a few weeks ago on a Monday afternoon, Governor Beshear announced that they would be moving the unemployment insurance division out of the Education and Workforce Development Cabinet over to the Labor Cabinet. Now, I think you're aware that the Workforce Board does nothing with unemployment insurance. We don't process it, we don't approve it. We're just a helper. And anytime we've been able to help with phones or anything during this process, where the state has gone from 12 people answering phones to 1,200 people answering phones in about a 2-week period, we've tried to help and we've tried to provide some level of assistance, but we're not the UI experts. So we haven't been, I'm sure, as helpful as they needed help with at this time. But this change will impact some of the things that we do. For example, right now, unemployment insurance had been provided totally through the career centers with staff that the Education and Workforce Development Cabinet had put there. Now we don't know who will be placing staff in a center or if they will be placing staff in a center. The Labor Cabinet could decide they were only going to do all the contacts virtually, and they may not put warm bodies back in career centers. So we're trying to listen to their discussions between the two cabinets and see how that will impact the number of people in our career centers and what services in our career centers. If they are going to provide any direct services in our centers, then that means we'll probably be delaying any type of appointment basis return to work with those centers. Most of the people have been working from home. Not all, some of them chose to shut the doors and work in the centers. So we have 2 comprehensive centers and 3 other sites. And we would be trying to bring those sites back up and working with the guidelines for healthy at work, as well as other guidelines that we would have to follow. We're probably going to look at the affiliate sites first, probably JobNet first, and some to follow that. In the comprehensive centers with the larger staff loads and larger public access, we'll probably have those among the last that would come on. But the guess right now is that all of that's probably moved to August, except for perhaps our affiliate sites. And we'll be giving you more information on that. Jason, I'll be happy to answer any questions, or Mr. Chairman, if you have any.
All right. No questions for Ms. Sheila. We'll move on then with our agenda and move to new business. Code of Ethics report. Jason, I'm assuming there's no issues with respect to Code of Ethics to report on at this time, since I don't see anything.
That's correct. Nothing to report, sir.
Okay, appreciate that. We'll move on then to the next item of business, and that's our nominating committee report. And Judge Tribble, I think you're up on that.
Yes, sir. Can everybody hear me?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, the nominating committee met on June the 2nd at 1 p.m. It was another Zoom meeting, and myself and Bart Frazier and Mayor Jan Yance are the members of that committee. And as a result of our meeting, we have to appoint citizen members to the Penrite Air Development District Board of Directors, and they're nominated by the county judges or the mayors to serve 3-year terms. And the nominating committee is appointed to review the lists that have been provided for board members whose terms are expiring or otherwise. So we do have a slate of candidates that we'd like to present to serve 3-year terms on the board of directors of the Penrite Air Development District beginning on July 1 and serving again, as I said, for 3 years. From Crittenden County, we have a recommendation of a reappointment of Bart Frazier. Bart is the city attorney for Marion and Salem. He's attorney for Crittenden Livingston Water District, Crittenden County Master Commissioner. He's been on the PADD board since July of 1999. From Hopkins County, we have a new appointment recommended, and that would be Chris Smiley. Chris is the mayor of the city of Dawson Springs. He's retired with 40 years at Kentucky Utilities and 24 years of service on the Dawson Springs School Board. From Livingston County, we have a recommendation for a reappointment, and that would be Terry Stringer. He's retired with 39 years at Westlake Chemical, and he's the fire chief for the city of Ledbetter, and he's been a member of the PADD board since January 2016. From Lyon County, we actually have two. We have a reappointment of Lee Wilson recommended. Lee is a Lyon County attorney and attorney with Wilson Law Firm. He's also served on the PADD board since July of 2017. We have a new appointment recommended from Lyon County, Deb Domke. She's executive director of Lake Barkley Chamber of Commerce and the vice president and owner of Payroll Vault. Then we go to Trigg County. We also have two, and both of these would be recommended reappointments. We have John Sumner, who's the CEO of Trigg County Hospital. He's been on the PADD board since March of 2013. Then we also have Stephanie Perry recommended as a reappointment. She's a self-employed farmer and co-owner operator of Vinson Farms. She served on the PADD board since July of 2017. So I guess I would put that in the form of a motion that these folks that I've mentioned be either appointed or reappointed to 3-year terms on the PADD board.
Okay, so we have a motion from the nominating committee.
Yes, sir.
Regarding the citizen members mentioned. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, Judge Mansfield seconds. Any questions or comments? All in favor of acceptance signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
All right, now the nominating committee also had a second task, and that was concerning the PADD officers, board officers. Now the position of treasurer would become vacant due to the rotation of the PADD officers for the next fiscal year per PADD bylaws. And the officer position of secretary will be vacant due to the fact that Denise Sutton is not being reappointed to the board. So the nominating committee considered this information, and let me just go through. We'll just mention them all to you for your approval. We have per PADD bylaws, existing PADD officers would assume board positions as follows, effective July the 1st, 2020. The PADD board chair would be Judge Executive Perry Newcomb from Crittenden County. And he's been doing a good job at that here recently, but he's actually going to move into that role if it meets with your approval. And then the vice chair would be our current treasurer, Judge Hollis Alexander from Trigg County. So those two would be recommended, but then to fill the other two officer slots, your nominating committee is recommending Mayor Jan Yance, the mayor of the city of Greenville, and she abstained from that vote, by the way. and when we in the nominating committee. And then Chrissy Carter, a citizen member from Livingston County, is also being nominated to serve as treasurer for the next year, starting July 1. So I would put that in the form of a motion that those 4 I just mentioned be approved to be your PADD board officers.
Okay, thank you, Judge Tribble. So we've got a motion from the nominating committee on behalf of Judge Tribble for the 4 officers as mentioned. Do I have a second?
Kevin Cotton, I second it.
Thank you, Mayor. Any questions? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed, like sign. All right, congratulations to those officers, and thank you, Judge Tribble, for the accolades bestowed on me trying to make my way through as chairman.
Yes, sir. It's always a pleasure to work with you guys.
All right. Appreciate the nominating committee's efforts and getting that accomplished via Zoom meeting. I know that's always, for me, that's an odd way to meet, and I appreciate you all taking time to do that.
It's unusual, but I was actually driving down the road taking my wife to the doctor when I presided over that meeting, but we got it done.
That's multitasking at its best.
That's right.
All right. Okay, we'll move on then to our next item of business. And that's our PADD board member recognition, board member and service awards, and outgoing member. Is that right, Jason? You want to go ahead and accomplish that?
Yes, sir. And obviously you notice that it does have Scott Marshall on the agenda there. Scott is ill today and wasn't able to join us, so keep him in your thoughts and prayers. But as you all know, as part of our annual meeting each year, we do take that time to recognize any board members who have reached significant milestones in their service to the Penn-Royal Area Development District. And this year we have 6 members to recognize. And I just want to go through those very quickly. Brian Ahart, who is the mayor's designee for the city of Cadiz. Nikki Baker, citizen representative for Caldwell County. Chrissy Carter, citizen representative for Livingston County. And Joanne Holder, citizen representative for Todd County. Buddy Slaughter, citizen representative for Christian County. And Jan Yance, mayor of the city of Greenville in Muhlenberg County. I just want to say a word of congratulations to all of you, and thank you for your continued service to the Penn-Royal region. And then next, Mr. Chairman, we'd also like to express our appreciation and recognize a couple of individuals who outgoing board members, and thank them for their service on our board. One of those individuals has already been mentioned, Denise Sutton, citizen representative from Lyon County, and then Jenny Sewell, who is a citizen representative from Hopkins County, former mayor of Dawson Springs. So thanks to both of them for serving on the board and helping direct our organization over the past several years. So thank you all for that. Hopefully sometime here in the near future, we'll be able to gather and do more recognitions.
All right, absolutely. And I see Miss Denise, I think, is on the call with us, and I kept telling Judge White he was going to keep on overload her and she was going to request to get off representing for Lyon County. So I see she finally had her fill. But Denise, I appreciate you.
Cheri, Jason, glad to serve. And as you know, PADD's very dear to me. So thank you all very much.
Absolutely. So we'll move on then to the next item of business, and that's our PADD service awards for staff. Jason, you want to take care of that?
Yes, sir. As you all know, over the past several months, we have started recognizing individual staff members at our monthly board meetings when they reach particular milestones. But always during our annual meeting, we like to recognize them again. And I'll just say this, just take this moment to brag on all of our staff throughout the COVID-19 situation. I hope you all understand you have a great staff. You have a staff that has taken the bull by the horn, has remained flexible, has done what needs to be done to make sure our organization continues to provide the services to your communities that you all have come to expect. And I'll just say that I am proud and I'm extremely honored to work with each and every one of them. I tell you what, we're a big family here at PADD, and it's one of those things we've got through together, and I thank each one of them for what they've done. But we do have several staff members that have reached particular milestones. We have 5 staff members who are completing 5 years of service this year. Belinda Babb, and before I get into these, I will say that I did ask each one of these to attend our Zoom meeting today so that they could be recognized. Belinda Babb is our National Family Caregiver Coordinator. Angie Crawford is our Projects Coordinator in Community and Economic Development Department. Molly Deal, Workforce Business Liaison. Harley Nittler, Social Services Case Manager and ADRC Waiver Application Specialist. And then Hayla Swaw, a Staff Accountant. Those individuals are completing 5 years with PADD. We have one staff member completing 10 years, and that's Cheri Farmer, the Executive Assistant here. And then we have 4 staff members completing 15 years of service. Cheri Chambers, our receptionist. Cynthia Peach, our Aging Program Case Manager. Doris Phillips, Aging Program Case Manager. And Melissa Thompson, Workforce Liaison and our Media and Communication Outreach. And then finally, we have one staff member who is completing 20 years of service, and that's Kim Meredith, who is our office manager. So just wanted to take a moment and recognize those individuals and thank them for their hard work and their service to the Pinnarow region.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jason. And, you know, in my 10 years as judge, I've gotten to work with a lot of the area development districts across the state. And I've always said, I think Pinnarow area leads the way in being the example for the entire state on how to operate a development agency such as ours. And I thank every one of you for that. We'll move on now to our director's report, Jason. So you.
Oh. I'll just keep going. I'll be very brief. I know we're just a minute or two after 2 o'clock, but I did want to share just a few things with you. As it has already been mentioned once, the executive committee did meet back in May, on May the 11th, in place of a full board meeting. And just wanted to give a quick update. The executive committee did approve several budget amendments, mainly, as Alicia reiterated earlier, mainly due to COVID-19 funding that we had received. They also awarded our aging services contracts to Pinnarow Allied Community Services, and then reviewed other operating procedures that I will go through here in just a moment. One of those operating procedures you will find on the web portal, and I have emailed that out to you all previously several weeks ago, but we are currently operating under a Healthy at PADD plan, work plan, and we continue to operate in that fashion. We are doing a good job at maintaining our office census numbers below 50%. We range anywhere on a daily basis from 15 to 20 employees here in our office. And then we rotate days that staff telework. And that has been going very well. We have made investments into technology infrastructure, And we are continuing, as I mentioned earlier, continuing to provide those services. Our front doors here at the office remain closed, and I would anticipate that to continue for the foreseeable future. It does seem to be working well. Our clients have adapted to using digital formats, whether that be email, whether that be sending stuff, via text messaging or dropping stuff in our Dropbox just outside. As I said, it is working quite well, and we will continue to operate that for the time being. And again, you will find that in your board packet. I'll also mention attached to the agenda is our NATO news that you all receive on a weekly basis. And I just wanted to use this moment to just to let you all know that NATO, our national association, is directly responsible for a couple of the programs that Amy was discussing earlier. The additional funding for emergency response, as well as the funding for enhancing our loan program. So I just wanted to take a moment and express our appreciation to NATO and their work directly with Congress on making those two programs become a reality. A few other activities that we've been dealing with or doing over the past few months that hasn't already been mentioned. We have been working with our local governments on securing masks for them. I want to give a big shout out to the mayor of Madisonville, Kevin Cotton, for allowing us to purchase those masks from him. To date, we have distributed about 77,500 of those masks, and I have several here in my office, several hundred here in my office. So if there's any of you or any of your local governments that need additional masks, please let us know and we can get those to you. Also, the group that owns this building, the Pennyrile Development and Governmental Center, they met a couple of weeks ago to review any building issues and approve the budget and look at the audit. And I will report to you that we are currently having some issues with our roof. And the PD&GC did vote to move forward with a roof scan, an infrared scan of our roof to determine where moisture is getting through our roof. And then that will help us to determine what procedures we need to take in the future. Is it a situation where we can rehab the roof, or are we going to have to completely tear it off and replace it? The scan has not been completed as of yet, but we hope that will be done within the next couple of weeks so we can get started with that project. The executive committee will meet later this month. We have not set a date just yet, but be on the lookout in your email. Those of you that are on the executive committee to review our FY 2021 budget, and then that will be brought to the full board in July. We will continue as of right now to conduct our board meetings via Zoom. As you all know, we typically have anywhere from 70 to 75 individuals that attend our board meetings. And so it's going to be fairly difficult to keep those meetings below 50, as is directed by the governor. So we will continue to operate via these board meetings via Zoom until those other restrictions are lifted. So, but we will meet on our regularly scheduled board meeting date in July via Zoom. We've also been working with our local governments regarding the CARES money that was released by the Department for Local Government. Some of you all may have heard about the $300 million that is going to cities and counties. We have been working with DLG staff to coordinate answers of questions. We actually hosted a call last Friday with our local governments to seek clarification on some things with those applications. We've actually just received additional information about 10 minutes ago on those funds, so I will be forwarding that out to everyone as soon as this meeting is over with. Also, just wanted to mention, those of you on the county level, we have been asked to complete a salary survey of county employees. So if you see something come through from either myself or one of our other staff members, please take some time to complete that, as I think that will be beneficial for all of our counties throughout our region. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have in my notes. And again, you know, as we are completing our 51st year of providing service to our region, again, just want to say thank you all for your support. Thank you all for continuing to be leaders of this region, and look forward to our 52nd year of operation.
It's our annual meeting.
Hopefully be able to
Get no meal.
see each other.
He's got me blocked off now. I'm muted.
You're
No,
not
you're not.
You're not muted, Judge.
I thought I was. I'm talking to Squire Cancer, who just came in. Excuse me.
Sounds like Judge Tribble's wanting a meal. I apologize that I guess we should have. I guess we should have.
That's what I was telling him.
Hey, Jason, thank you for your report. And I was going to apologize to Judge Tribble for us interrupting his afternoon nap. The way he was yawning there, it sounded like he was going to go sleep.
I'm usually asleep, but this time.
That's what I thought. All right. Sorry about that.
Yeah, Cancer woke me up when he came in.
Yeah, I knew you didn't realize you were not muted.
No, I didn't. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Does anybody have any other business at all to bring before the board? Again, I thank everybody for their participation and their effort to accomplish this meeting, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mayor Yount, so moved.
Second. Thank you, Mayor. I've got a second by Roger Simpson. All in favor, signify by saying aye and log off. Thank you.
Thank you all.
How do you mute?
There's a icon